Hey, Mike with Nerd Problems Gaming here, the channel where we go through the good and bad of everything nerdy to make sure you spend your time on the best of the best. In today's video, I'll be doing a review on the game Hades, so let's get into it. So if you're not familiar with Hades, it's a new roguelike action game and it won a ton of awards, including the Game of the Year award, and it's been sitting in my backlog forever, and I finally got a chance to play it. And so for me, I've played a ton of roguelike action games, and so this game got a ton of hype, and like I said, a lot of awards, so I wasn't really sure if it would stack up to the other awesome roguelike games I played in the past, or if I'd really feel it was worth all these awards and hype it was getting when it came out. And so the game, you take on the role of the son of Hades in your attempts to escape the underworld. And so on your quest, you'll take on hordes of enemies, intense boss fights, and seek out the help of various different Olympians in your quest to escape the underworld. And so as you go through the different levels of the underworld, like I said, you're going to face a ton of monsters and seek out the aid of the Olympians. And so these Olympians will give you various different boons that will boost your powers, from things like adding extra damage to your attack abilities, unleashing powers related to that Olympian. So for example, if you take a boon from Poseidon, you gain water abilities. Zeus will allow you to use lightning abilities, and the list goes on and on. And so what's cool is as you get these Olympians' powers, a lot of them will stack on top of each other. And so there's different rarity levels as well. So you might start off early in the game getting basic powers from these Olympians, but as your relationship grows with these Olympians and your character gets more powerful, the boons that you get from the Olympians become more rare and valuable as well. Another thing that I thought was really cool is that you can even level up these boons throughout each run. So it might start off sort of weak and do a little bit of extra damage or give you more protection, but then again, as you level it up, it gets stronger throughout your playthrough. Also, depending on which boons you acquire in your relationship with each Olympian, sometimes you can get dual boons where the benefits combine with each other, and so that's pretty cool. Like I mentioned as well, you'll build ongoing relationships with each one of these Olympians as you do multiple runs and escape attempts from the underworld. And so it's kind of cool, the dialogue will carry over and you'll unravel more of the story. They also make comments based on the relationships you have with other Olympians, and so I thought that was pretty cool for a roguelike game to intertwine the story and have it ever evolve as you do more playthroughs. Another thing that's pretty cool is that you can give nectar to various Olympians, and they're going to give you keepsakes, which you're able to equip throughout your runs and escape attempts from the underworld. And so these keepsakes give you additional special abilities, but you can also level up these as well as you go through more encounters in the underworld. And so again, you can mix and match these different keepsakes, and as you reach different checkpoints within the underworld, you can swap out which one you use as well to really optimize your strategy. On top of that, each time you go through a run and escape attempt, you can choose a different starting weapon that you want to use. So there's things like swords, spears, shields, gauntlets, and more, and each one of these has a unique play style and associated benefits with using the weapon. Later on in the game, you also gain the ability to power up and level up these weapons as well, making them stronger and granting additional abilities and additional benefits depending on the weapon. And so that was really cool. On top of that, you also power up yourself as you go. So you'll collect different gems and keys to unlock new abilities from your character, and so you can mix and match a ton of different abilities to suit your play style. And this can be things like increasing the probability that you're going to get a rare boon from an Olympian. It can be powering up your base health and even bringing you back from the dead several times when you die throughout each run. And so again, there's a ton of different abilities that you can choose from and mix and match, and so you can really create the ultimate character depending on your play style and the run attempt you're going to make. On top of that, you can even upgrade and power up your room and kind of lobby location that you go through in the game as well. And so this can allow you to gather more money in your runs, grant you additional abilities and more as you level this up. There's also a shop where you can buy different supplies before each run using gems and keys and other items that you've collected on previous runs. And so I thought this was really cool. Another thing that I really like about the game is that there's a bunch of different branching paths that you can choose during each run. So a lot of roguelike games, you'll kind of go through different rooms and explore the map, and it's different every time, and that's great. But what's cool with this one is that it will highlight the boon that you're going to get depending on which route you choose. So again, if you've got a lot of different Olympian boons that you like and maybe you're trying to power up specific ones, you might go that route. If you want to gather more money to use in shops throughout your run, you can go that route. If you just want to get gems and items to power yourself up and your base abilities for a later run, you can do that as well. So there's a lot of different choices and paths you can go down and choose each run, which I really liked. There's also a cool Chaos Olympian that you can choose to go on, and so when you do this, you sacrifice a little bit of health or receive some kind of negative to your character for so many encounters, but then once you've cleared that, you get a permanent boost in some type of ability as well. And so that was really cool, where you could try and balance that to power up your character even further, make things a little bit harder initially, but then reap additional awards after that. Another thing I really liked about the game is that the bosses for each floor of the underworld evolve as you play as well. And so a lot of roguelike games, you'll clear a bunch of dungeon area and then you'll face a boss, and then you'll have a new dungeon area, etc. And so it was a similar style to that, but the bosses would change as you played more. So there was a bunch of different variants for each boss level, and so you never really know what encounter you're going to face as you go through the dungeon, which improved the replay value and kept things fresh each time you went through a run. Another thing I really liked about the game is that it had an ever-evolving story. So even after you get through the underworld the first time, the story still continues, and it really gives you a reason to keep on playing and explore more. On top of that, it gets more challenging after that as well. So once you've made it through that first run and you finally complete the underworld dungeons and escape, it adds another layer of difficulty to the game, where you get to choose various different negative effects that you want to add on to make your run even harder. And so you'll still get the items to further level up your character, but each run attempt gives you even more challenges along the way, and since you can mix and match that, it just added even more replay value to the game. So overall, I really enjoyed this game. I think it definitely deserves a lot of the awards that it got, and especially from someone like me that does play a ton of roguelike games, I think this one still had an engaging story, it still has a super addictive gameplay, and the replay value is there as well, especially if you've played a ton of roguelike games like this in the past. I think part of the reason for this is that there's so many different variables that you can level up, that you can choose from. The experience varies every single run, the different boss variants, the different Olympians, the additional story you unlock every single playthrough, I think is one thing that really makes this game shine. So if you haven't yet played Hades and you're looking for a great action roguelike game, I highly recommend checking this out and adding it to your nerd library. But let me know in the comments below, how do you think Hades stacks up? Do you think it's one of the best roguelike games out there? Are there other ones you think are even better? Is there other great roguelike games I should check out? Let me know in the comments below. It's definitely one of my favorite genres that's come out in the recent years. If you guys like this video, be sure to smash that like button, as it really helps out the channel. If you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out. If you'd like to help us support the channel, pick out content and more, become a patron of ours at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Patreon. If you'd like to plug into our live streams and Let's Plays we do on the channel, you can follow us on Twitch at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Twitch. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.